So we are going to solve the interesting equation that you have seen on the thumbnail. Now we say that n is more than 4, just not to work with negative numbers, and n is also an integer. So let's write the equations. We have 2 to the n, and then x 2 to the n plus 1. So we know that this is true. We are given that this is true, and we want to know how many x values exist in this range such that 2 to the m plus 1 less than 3x less than 2 to the m plus 2 exists. Now let's take this second equation, divide both sides by 3 to get 2 to the m plus 1 over 3 less than x less than 2 to the m plus 2 over 3. Now, we have two different inequalities, both involving x. First says that x is more than 2 to the n. Second says that x is more than 2 to the n plus 1. Now, we need to set boundaries, right? And which values are we going to take? Like, are we going to take this one or this one? Now, to determine, let's realize this. Assume that you have a value 2 to the a. If you multiply this by 2, you get 2 to the a plus 1. If you multiply that by 3, you get 3 multiplied by 2 to the a, right? Now, which one is bigger? 2 to the a plus 1 or 3 2 to the a? Of course, the second one, 3 multiplied by 2 to the a, because in one case you multiply by 3, in other you multiply by 2. Similarly, we have 2 to the n, and we have 2 to the n plus 1 divided by 3. So we can easily see that this is going to be smaller, right? So it's kind of obvious this is going to be smaller. Therefore, because this is going to be smaller, we are going to take this as our boundary. So you might wonder why, but I'm going to explain it later. So let's say this 2 to the n and less than x, and we also need to find the right side of the boundary, which we are going to look at these two and select the smallest one. And by the same rule, we can see that this is going to be smaller. So we are going to put 2 to the m plus 2 over 3. Now we selected maximum for this and smallest for this. Why? Because we are given that x is in this range, right? And this thing tells that x is less than in this range. So what I mean is, let's say n equals to 5. We are given that 32, x 64. So x can be any value in between these two. But our second equation tells us that when you replace n with 5, you get 2 to the 6 divided by 3, which 64 over 3, which is, let's say, around 21-ish x, and 2 to the 7 over 3, which I guess will be around 42. I'm not sure 100%. It will be around those values. Now, we are given that x is in this range, but second equation tells us that x can also be in this range. So we are going to take these two equations and look for the intersections. So in the second equation, x can be 22, but in the first equation, x can't. In the first equation, x can be 63, but in the second equation, x cannot. So therefore, we selected maximum for the minimum case and minimum for the maximum case of the two inequalities. And we get this formula. Now, you can count this, of course, it will give you an answer. But let's keep things further, right? Now, let's use some important formulas, but before that, I need to clean this up. Now, which formula are we gonna use? So let's do an example to determine the amount of x that we can obtain. Assume that you have this condition. Oops. Yep, yep. 3 y 8. Now, how many y's are there? 4, 5, 6, 7, right? These can all be y. And we can see that the amount of y we can take is 4, like 4, 5, 6, 7. And realize that 4 is also equals to, so we can see that 8 minus 3, which is we subtract these two boundaries and also subtract 1. And like, I'm not gonna explain this further, but if you want to thoroughly understand this, you can do examples, you can search these formulas up, or whatever, you can ask your teacher. But it basically follows that formula, like you subtract these two and subtract 1 to get the amount of y that we can obtain. Now, we are also gonna do the same. We have this inequality, we are gonna say 2 to the n plus 2 over 3 minus 2 to the n minus 1. This is the amount of x that we can take. And let's simplify this further a little bit. Let's have a common denominator like this. Minus 3 multiplied by 2 to the n minus 1 divided by 3. And let's do this, let's say multiplication. That's because multiplication operator. And can we, yeah, we can also simplify this further. So realize that, let me write it in here. 2 to the n plus 2 equals to 4 multiplied by 2 to the n, because 4 is equal to 2 to the n, 2 to the 2, and we multiplied by 2 to the n to get 2 to the n plus 2. So we can say 4 to the 2 to the n minus 3 multiplied by 2 to the n minus 1 divided by 3. We have 4 2 to the n. We have 3 2 to the n. We subtract them. So we get this thing is equals to 2 to the n minus 1 over 3. Like, interesting, right? Yes. Well, that's basically your answer. And yeah, that's basically it. One question that you might ask is that when we divide a power of 2 by 3, we don't get a whole number. Like, this is not gonna be 15, it's gonna be 15.23, something like that. So yes, you are absolutely right. And if you get 15.2, then you round it up to 16 and take your right boundary to be 16. So we round things up for the right side, and for the left side we are never gonna get any decimal points, so we should be fine. Yep. And that's basically the answer for this question. And have a great day.